My girlfriend said, "You don't have a future." I replied, "Not with you." Then, I took my dream job in New York, cut off all contacts, and built a life with someone who truly appreciated me. Later, when my success became public, I simply watched as she tried to make her way back into my life. My name is Ryan. I am 31, and I work in product design for a mid-sized tech company in Chicago. My life has always been pretty structured. I like having a plan, building towards something, knowing where I am headed. I rent a one-bedroom apartment near the lake, keep my finances tight, and spend most evenings either at the gym or sketching ideas for side projects. My girlfriend, Vanessa, is 29. We had been together for 3 years. For the last year and a half, she basically lived at my place, even though her name was never on the lease. She works in marketing and thrives on attention. She loves expensive dinners, rooftop photos, and making sure everyone online knows exactly what she is doing at all times. In the beginning, I thought we balanced each other out. She brought spontaneity. I brought stability. That was the theory. The reality started shifting about a year ago when I began applying for jobs outside of Chicago. I had been working on a portfolio for months, quietly sending it to firms in New York. It had always been my goal to work there at least once in my life. Bigger projects, bigger teams, more room to grow. Vanessa hated that idea. She never said it directly at first. It came out sideways. Little comments. "You really think you are cut out for New York? You know it is not that easy, right? Thousands of people want those jobs." It was always framed like concern, but it never felt supportive. Then it got sharper. One night we were at dinner with 2 of her friends. They were talking about long-term plans, engagements, houses, 5-year timelines. One of them asked when I planned to settle into something more permanent. Before I could answer, Vanessa laughed and said he is still chasing dreams. "I'm just waiting for him to figure out he does not really have a future like that." Everyone laughed like it was a joke. I did not. Later that night, when we got home, I asked her what that was about. She rolled her eyes and said I was being sensitive. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. "You do not have a future like you think you do. You are comfortable. That is it. Comfortable guys do not become exceptional." She said it calmly. No anger. Just assessment. I looked at her for a long time and realized something uncomfortable. She did not believe in me. Not privately. Not secretly. Not at all. And that was the moment something in me shifted. The next morning, I did not bring it up again. I did not argue. I did not defend myself. I did not try to convince her she was wrong. I woke up at 6, went for my usual run along the lake, and replayed her sentence in my head with every step. Comfortable guys do not become exceptional. By the time I got back to my apartment, sweat-soaked and breathing steady, I was done processing it emotionally. I moved straight into action. I opened my laptop and pulled up the email from the New York firm I had been casually corresponding with. They had invited me to submit an updated portfolio if I wanted to be considered for a senior role that had just opened. I had been hesitating, telling myself I needed a few more months to polish things. To prepare, I attached my current portfolio exactly as it was. Then I wrote a direct, concise email. "I am ready to be considered. I can relocate immediately." I hit send before I could overthink it. Vanessa woke up around 8 and found me already dressed for work, reviewing another job listing on my phone. "You are still on that New York thing," she said, pouring herself coffee. "Yeah." She leaned against the counter. "Ryan, I'm not trying to be mean. I just do not want you to build your ego around something unrealistic." I looked at her calmly. "I am not building ego. I am building options." She rolled her eyes. "You always talk like that. Options. Growth. Potential. At some point you have to accept your level." That word stuck with me. Level. That same afternoon, I reached out to 2 former colleagues who had moved to Manhattan. Asked about openings. Asked about housing. Asked about timelines. No drama. No speeches. Just logistics. That night, instead of sitting on the couch while she scrolled through her phone, I was at my desk refining case studies and updating metrics. She noticed. "You are being weird," she said. "How?" "You are acting like you already live somewhere else." I did not argue, because mentally, I was already leaving. And this time, I was not waiting weeks or months to see if she would start believing in me. I was moving forward immediately. 2 days after I sent that email, I got a response from the New York firm. They wanted to schedule a video interview with the head of product. I did not tell Vanessa. Not because I was hiding it, because I was done submitting my ambitions for commentary. I booked the earliest time slot, Thursday morning before work. I rearranged my calendar, blocked the hour, and told my manager I had a dentist appointment. That week, Vanessa kept making small remarks. You are quiet lately. Just focused. On what? Work. She studied me like she was trying to decode something. You better not be spiraling over that New York thing. I do not want you depressed when it falls through. I just nodded. Thursday morning, I woke up at 5:30. Showered. Put on a clean button-down. Cleared my desk. Adjusted the lighting so I did not look washed out on camera. The call started at 7. It lasted almost 90 minutes. We talked about scaling teams, about product strategy, about leading designers instead of just executing tasks. The hiring manager asked pointed questions, and I answered without hedging. When it ended, he said we will move quickly. I closed the laptop and sat there in silence for a full minute. Not excited, not celebrating, just steady. When Vanessa woke up, I was already dressed for the office. You look weirdly motivated today, she said, pouring coffee. Big presentation later. She nodded, uninterested. That afternoon, while I was in a meeting, my phone buzzed. An email. They wanted to fly me to New York next week for a final in-person interview. All travel covered. I stared at the message and felt something solidify inside me. This was not a fantasy. It was momentum. That night, Vanessa complained about her boss for 20 minutes straight while I made dinner. She did not ask about my day. She rarely did anymore. At one point she looked at me and said, "You know, I just hope you are not building your identity around something unrealistic. It is dangerous to think you are meant for more." Meant for more. I almost laughed. Because for the first time in months, I did not feel defensive. I felt certain. And she had no idea. The official invitation for the in-person interview came the next morning with flight options attached. I booked the trip during my lunch break. Still did not tell Vanessa. That weekend, she dragged me to a rooftop party for one of her friends. The kind of event where everyone talks about promotions, raises, and who is moving into which luxury building. At one point, someone asked what my long-term plan was. Before I could answer, Vanessa laughed. Ryan is still figuring that out. He likes to keep things safe. Safe. There it was again. That quiet public dismissal disguised as humor. I did not correct her. Instead, I let her keep talking. He talks about New York sometimes, she added, rolling her eyes. But honestly, not everyone is built for that pace. A couple of people nodded politely. I just took a sip of my drink and made a mental note. She was comfortable with the narrative where I was limited. Monday morning, I packed a small carry-on and told her I had a 2-day work conference out of state. She barely reacted. Try not to overpromise anything, she said. You know how you get. How I get. Driven. Focused. Ambitious. The flight to New York was quiet. I spent most of it reviewing strategy notes and thinking about what kind of life I actually wanted. Not what fit her expectations. Not what kept her comfortable. What I wanted. The interview lasted almost 3 hours. I met the executive team. Walked through live problem-solving sessions. They asked how I would handle scaling a product line internationally. They asked about leadership failures. They pushed hard. I did not flinch. At the end, the director walked me to the elevator. We will be in touch very soon, he said. Very soon. On the flight back, I did not feel nervous. I felt detached. For the first time in 3 years, my future did not revolve around Vanessa's approval. When I got home Tuesday evening, she was on the couch scrolling through her phone. How was your little conference? She asked without looking up. Productive. She smirked. As long as you are not wasting energy chasing something that does not fit you. I set my bag down. I did not argue. Because I knew something she did not. And within 48 hours, everything was about to change. The offer came Wednesday afternoon. Base salary 30% higher than what I was making. Performance bonus. Relocation package. Signing bonus. Leadership track within 18 months. I read the email 3 times to make sure I was not projecting meaning onto something vague. It was not vague. They wanted me in New York within 6 weeks. I did not feel adrenaline. I did not feel panic. I felt clarity. I stepped outside my office building and called the hiring director. I accept. We discussed logistics for 10 minutes. Start date. Temporary housing options. Paperwork timeline. When I hung up, I did not call Vanessa. I drove home. She was at the kitchen counter, complaining into her phone about a coworker who got credit for a campaign she claimed to have built. When she saw me, she held up a finger like I needed to wait. I went to the bedroom, grabbed the folder where I kept my lease agreement, and sat on the edge of the bed. When she finished her call, she walked in. What is wrong with you lately? She asked. Nothing. You are distant. It is annoying. I looked at her calmly. I got the job in New York. She blinked. What? They made an offer. I accepted. There was a pause. Not shock. Not pride. Calculation. You accepted without talking to me. Yes. Her expression hardened. So you were just leaving. I am moving in 6 weeks. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Ryan, be serious. I am serious. Her tone shifted fast. You cannot just uproot your life because someone dangled a shiny title in front of you. I stood up. You told me I did not have a future. I did not mean it like that. You said comfortable guys do not become exceptional. She crossed her arms. You are overreacting. No. I am responding. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she said it. If you move, we are done. I did not hesitate. Not with you. That was the moment. No yelling. No tears. Just reality landing exactly where it needed to. She stared at me like I had just miscalculated something obvious. You are choosing a job over me. I shook my head. No. I am choosing a future over doubt. She paced once across the bedroom, arms tied across her chest. This is impulsive. You are emotional. I almost smiled at that. Nothing about this was impulsive. I had been building toward it quietly for months. You said I did not have a future like I thought I did. I reminded her. Because I was trying to protect you from embarrassing yourself. That sentence told me everything. She did not see herself as unsupportive. She saw herself as realistic, as superior in judgment. You never believed I could do it, I said calmly. She hesitated. I just did not think you were built for that level. There it was again. I picked up the lease folder. I will be out by the end of next month. You can stay here until then, or you can leave sooner. Your name was never on the lease. That is when the tone shifted. So that is it. 3 years, and you are just cutting me off. I looked at her steadily. You told me I do not have a future. She exhaled sharply. I was frustrated. People say things. No. People reveal things. That landed. For the first time, she did not have a quick response. Instead, she tried a different approach. Long distance could work, she said. Once you settle, I could consider transferring. New York has good marketing firms. The speed of that pivot was almost impressive. A week ago, New York was unrealistic. Now it was an option. I shook my head. You already told me what you think of me. That is not fair. It is accurate. She went quiet again, but this time it was not dismissive. It was assessing, calculating whether I was bluffing. I was not. Over the next few days, I started packing deliberately. Books first, then winter clothes, then documents. No drama, no drawn-out talks. She oscillated between cold indifference and sudden attempts at normal conversation. One night she said, "You are going to regret this when you realize you cannot compete there." I did not respond, because something had changed. For the first time since we met, I did not need her to see my potential. I had already stepped into it. By the second week, the apartment felt different. Not hostile, just transitional. Vanessa stopped pretending this was temporary. She stopped suggesting long distance. Instead, she started making comments that sounded less confident than before. New York is expensive. You will burn through that salary fast. I have done the math. Everyone thinks they will stand out there. Most people disappear. I will find out. She would watch me pack like she was waiting for hesitation. There was none. I finalized my relocation paperwork, signed the new contract electronically, and secured temporary housing in Manhattan for the first 3 months. Everything moved forward cleanly, efficiently. 3 days before my flight, she tried again. We were sitting at the kitchen counter. She looked tired, less sharp. You are really not going to reconsider? No. You are throwing away 3 years. No, I said calmly. I am refusing to waste the next 30. That hit harder than I expected it to. She went quiet for a long time. Then she said something almost soft. You think someone there is going to appreciate you more? I stood up and zipped my suitcase. Yes. She did not argue. The morning of my flight, she did not wake up to say goodbye. That felt fitting. The cab ride to the airport was quiet. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just forward motion. When the plane lifted off, I did not look back at the skyline. I opened my laptop and reviewed the onboarding documents for my new team. The first month in New York was relentless. Long hours. Bigger expectations. Faster decisions. But I thrived. The projects were complex. The team was sharp. No one minimized ambition. No one framed growth as fantasy. Performance reviews were direct. If something needed improvement, they said it. If something was strong, they said that too. Clear metrics. Clear outcomes. Within 6 months, I was leading a small team. Within a year, I was promoted ahead of schedule. I did not post about it. I did not broadcast it. I just kept building. And eventually, success has a way of becoming visible on its own. Even to people who once said you did not have a future. About 18 months after I moved, the company announced a major product launch. It went well. Very well. Tech blogs picked it up. A few interviews followed. My name was attached to the rollout as the lead on the redesign. Nothing celebrity level. Just visible. That is how she found me again. The first message came on LinkedIn. Wow. Look at you. No greeting. No context. Just that. I stared at the notification for a long time before opening it fully. I always knew you would figure it out, she wrote. New York looks good on you. That was interesting. Because the last time we spoke, New York was unrealistic. I did not respond. A week later, a text came through from an unfamiliar number. Hey, it is Vanessa. I changed phones. I had never blocked her. I just never reached out. I left the message unread. 2 days after that, she sent another. I would love to catch up. I think we were both under a lot of pressure back then. I might be in New York next month for work. The shift in tone was almost academic. No mention of me lacking a future. No mention of levels. Just revisionist history. I finally replied with one sentence. I hope you are doing well. Nothing more. Her response came within minutes. That is it. After everything. Everything. I considered that word carefully. 3 years where ambition was a liability. Where growth was treated as delusion. Where doubt was framed as realism. I typed slowly. We both said what we believed at the time. There was a long pause before she responded. I was wrong. That was new. Then came the real pivot. I have grown a lot. I see things differently now. I think we were actually really good together. Maybe we just met at the wrong time. Wrong time. I looked around my apartment in Manhattan. The view of the skyline. The stack of product sketches on my desk. The framed photo on the bookshelf of me and someone else. Someone who never once called my ambition unrealistic. Timing had nothing to do with it. Belief did. And I was about to make that very clear. Her last message sat there on my screen. Maybe we just met at the wrong time. For a second, I considered writing a long response. Something structured. Something measured. Explaining that belief is not seasonal. That support is not conditional. That you do not get to downgrade someone's ambition and then claim you always saw their potential once it materializes. Instead, I typed 3 words. We met correctly. She replied almost instantly. What does that even mean? It means you said exactly what you believed. There was a pause. Then she pivoted again. I was scared back then. You were talking about leaving. I did not know how to handle it. People say things when they feel insecure. That was probably the most honest thing she had written so far. But honesty after the fact does not rewrite behavior. My phone buzzed again. I am in a different place now. I have matured. I would not talk to you like that again. I looked across the room at Emma. She was sitting on the couch with her laptop open, reviewing a design mock-up I had shown her earlier. She glanced up and smiled at me for no reason other than she felt like it. Emma never once questioned whether I could handle New York. She never framed growth as delusion. When I doubted myself during my first brutal quarter at the new job, she did not minimize it. She listened. Then she asked practical questions. Then she reminded me of who I was. No drama. No power games. Just alignment. My phone buzzed again. Can we at least get coffee when I am in town? That was when it became clear. This was not closure. This was recalibration. She had seen the public version of my life and decided it fit her narrative now. I unlocked my phone one last time. I wish you the best, Vanessa. Then I blocked her number. Blocked her on LinkedIn. Blocked her on Instagram. No announcement. No confrontation. Just a clean boundary. I set the phone down and walked over to Emma. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah. I kissed her forehead lightly. Just closing an old chapter. And this time, I did not look back. Blocking her was not dramatic. There was no surge of emotion. No final speech. Just silence where her name used to appear. The following week, she tried one more angle. An email. Subject line simple. Closure. I read it once. She wrote about growth. About how seeing my success made her realize she had projected her own fear onto me. She said she had been intimidated by the idea of being left behind. She said she confused stability with limitation. It was thoughtful, almost articulate, but it was late. I did not respond. Instead, I forwarded the email to an archive folder and deleted it from my inbox. Emma and I had dinner that night at a small Italian place in the West Village. Nothing fancy, just good food and easy conversation. At one point, she asked how it felt to have the product launch finally settle. Relieving, I said. Worth the pressure. She nodded. I never doubted you would pull it off. It was not flattery. It was baseline belief. That difference is everything. Over the next year, my role expanded again. I was given oversight on a new initiative. More responsibility. More visibility. The success was incremental, not explosive, which made it real. Occasionally, mutual acquaintances from Chicago would mention Vanessa in passing. She had changed jobs twice, moved apartments, dated someone in finance briefly. There was no bitterness when I heard it, just distance. One night, scrolling through an industry article that referenced our team again, I remembered that dinner 3 years ago. You do not have a future like you think you do. She was half right. I did not have a future with her, but I built one anyway. Not loudly, not to prove a point, just because it was there to build. And in the end, the most satisfying part was not watching her try to come back. It was realizing I no longer cared whether she did.